Imagine saving up all your money for something you've wanted for so long, only to discover when the moment finally arrives that it slipped just out of your grasp. What if I told you this wasn't just bad luck, but the result of a mysterious force that has plagued civilizations for centuries? A force so subtle that it crept unnoticed through the streets of ancient Rome, turning wealth to dust and setting the stage for one of history's greatest downfalls. Today, we're delving into the shadowy world of inflation, an economic phenomenon that has the power to quietly unravel entire empires. Picture this: you've been saving up your allowance for a whole year. You've got $10, just enough to buy your favorite toy. But when you get to the store, you're stunned to find that the price has jumped to $12. Your carefully saved money is suddenly not enough. This is the insidious nature of inflation, when the value of your money slowly shrinks, and you don't even realize it until it's too late. But this isn't just a story of modern times. Let's journey back to ancient Rome, where the first recorded inflation silently spread through the empire like a shadow in the night. The mighty Roman emperors, desperate to fund their endless wars and extravagant lifestyles, began to secretly reduce the silver in their coins. At first, no one noticed, but soon, something strange started to happen. Prices began to rise, and what once cost a single coin now required a handful. Panic set in as people realized their money was worth less and less every day. The once mighty Roman economy began to crumble under the weight of this unseen force, leading to a crisis that would help topple one of the greatest civilizations in history. Understanding inflation. Now that we've uncovered the ancient roots of inflation, let's see how this mysterious force sneaks into our lives today. Picture this: you've been saving up your allowance all year, patiently waiting to buy that special toy. You've got $10 saved up, but when you finally get to the store, the price tag reads $12. What happened? Your money didn't change, but something else did. That something is inflation, a sneaky force that quietly makes your money worth less over time. But why does inflation happen? What if I told you there are 4 secret forces that can drive prices up, each one with its own way of making your money feel a little lighter? Let's dive into the mysteries of inflation and reveal these hidden forces. Consider a scenario where, almost overnight, everyone in your town develops an intense obsession with the same toy. It's suddenly the must-have item, and everyone is scrambling to get their hands on it. But here's the catch: there aren't enough to go around. What do you think happens next? The price skyrockets. This is what we call demand-pull inflation. When there's too much excitement and not enough stuff, prices shoot up like a rocket. Think about the last time you really wanted something and couldn't get it because it sold out everywhere. Did you notice how the price seemed to go up every time you checked? That's demand-pull inflation in action. Now, let's say the factory that makes your favorite toy runs into some trouble. The price of plastic doubles, or maybe the workers start demanding higher pay. What do you think happens to the cost of the toy? That's right, it goes up. This is cost-push inflation, where rising production costs push prices higher and higher. Next time you hear about a strike or a shortage of materials on the news, remember, these events might just be setting the stage for cost-push inflation. It's like a hidden wave, starting far away, but eventually crashing down on prices at the store. What if one morning you discovered that everyone in your town received an extra $10 from the government? Sounds awesome, right? But here's the twist. Now everyone's rushing to spend that extra cash, but the number of toys in the store hasn't changed. What do you think happens to prices? They go up. This is monetary inflation, where too much money in the system makes everything more expensive. Ever hear someone say, money doesn't grow on trees? Well, if it did, that would be a fast track to monetary inflation. Remember, if everyone has more money, but there's no more stuff to buy, prices start to rise. Finally, let's talk about a cycle that seems to never end. What if everyone just expects prices to keep going up? Workers start asking for higher wages because they think things will cost more in the future. Companies raise their prices to pay those higher wages, and round we go. This is built-in inflation, a cycle where everyone's expectations help drive prices higher. It's like being on a merry-go-round that keeps spinning faster and faster. The more people expect prices to rise, the more they actually do. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that can be hard to stop. So, now that you know the four forces behind inflation, think about how they might be affecting you right now. Every time you see a price tag, you're seeing the results of these hidden forces at work. Inflation might seem mysterious, but with the right knowledge, you can see it coming before it hits your wallet. Stay tuned, because understanding these forces isn't just about knowing why prices go up. It's about learning how to protect your money from inflation's sneaky grip. Historical perspective on inflation. Inflation isn't just something that happens today. It's been a part of human history for thousands of years. Let's take a journey back in time to see how this mysterious force has shaped entire civilizations, sometimes leading them to greatness and other times to ruin. What if I told you that some of the world's most powerful empires were brought to their knees by something as invisible as inflation? Let's uncover the stories behind these historical economic collapses and see what lessons they hold for us today. Ancient Rome, 3rd century AD. Imagine walking through the bustling streets of ancient Rome, where merchants shout about their wares and silver coins jingle in the pockets of the citizens. But something sinister is brewing, a silent enemy that even the mighty Roman legions can't defeat. In the 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire was at the height of its power, but it faced a growing problem. The empire needed more and more money to pay its soldiers, build roads, and fund the lavish lifestyles of its rulers. But instead of finding more silver to mint new coins, the emperors began secretly reducing the silver content in their coins. At first, it seemed like a clever solution, but soon, the people of Rome noticed something strange. Prices began to rise, and what once cost a single coin now required several. The more the emperors debased the currency, the less it was worth, leading to runaway inflation that left the economy in tatters. Think about how the money in your wallet might lose its value over time. Rome's mistake was thinking that more coins meant more wealth, but they learned the hard way that money's value isn't just about how much you have, it's about what it can actually buy. Germany, 1920s. Fast forward to the 1920s, to a time when money lost its meaning almost overnight. Imagine needing a wheelbarrow full of cash just to buy a loaf of bread. Sounds like a nightmare, right? For the people of Germany, this was a terrifying reality. After World War I, Germany was drowning in debt. The government's solution? Print more money. At first, it seemed like an easy fix, but soon, the country was flooded with so much paper money that it became nearly worthless. Prices skyrocketed in what's known as hyperinflation, where money loses value so quickly that the cost of goods rises by the hour. People were forced to carry bags or even wheelbarrows full of cash just to buy basic necessities like food. This period of hyperinflation devastated the German economy and led to widespread poverty and despair. Next time you see prices going up, imagine what it would be like if they doubled every day. Germany's story shows us how quickly things can spiral out of control when inflation runs wild. Zimbabwe, 2000s. Finally, let's visit a more recent example, Zimbabwe in the 2000s, where inflation reached unimaginable levels. How much would you pay for a loaf of bread? In Zimbabwe, people were paying millions, even billions, of dollars for basic items. In the early 2000s, Zimbabwe faced one of the worst cases of hyperinflation in history. The government, trying to solve its economic problems, printed massive amounts of money. But this only made things worse. Prices started doubling every day, and soon the Zimbabwean dollar was worth so little that people needed stacks of bills just to buy food. At the height of the crisis, the government even printed a $100 trillion bill, but even that couldn't buy much. Eventually, Zimbabwe had to abandon its own currency because it was no longer usable. Imagine if the money you saved up all year suddenly became worthless? Zimbabwe's story is a powerful reminder of how important it is to keep inflation in check so our money doesn't lose its value. So, what can we learn from these stories? Inflation is like a silent enemy creeping into our lives and slowly making our money worth less. But by understanding its history and the mistakes of the past, we can be better prepared to protect our future. Stay with us because next we're going to talk about how countries today try to keep inflation under control and what you can do to make sure your money doesn't lose its value. Think of inflation as a wild beast. In ancient Rome, Germany, and Zimbabwe, this beast escaped, unleashing chaos. But today, we have tools to tame it, tools that are used by some of the smartest economic minds around the world. What if I told you there's a group of people whose job it is to keep inflation in check? They're like the guardians of our money, making sure it doesn't lose its value. Let's meet these modern-day inflation tamers and see how they keep our economy stable. The role of central banks. In most countries, there's a special group of experts who are constantly on the lookout for inflation. In the United States, this group is called the Federal Reserve, or the Fed for short. They're like the economy's watchdogs, always ready to act when prices start to rise too quickly. The Fed's main job is to keep inflation at a level that's not too high and not too low. They do this by adjusting something called interest rates. Think of interest rates as the speed limit for the economy. If things start moving too fast, with prices rising quickly, the Fed raises interest rates to slow things down. This makes borrowing money more expensive, which can help cool off spending and bring prices back under control. Next time you hear on the news that the Fed is changing interest rates, you'll know they're trying to keep inflation from getting out of hand. It's all about finding that sweet spot where the economy can grow without prices getting out of control. Other tools and tactics. But interest rates aren't the only tool in the toolbox. Central banks have other ways to keep inflation in check, and they're constantly monitoring the economy to decide which tool to use. The Fed also controls the amount of money in circulation. If there's too much money floating around, they can take steps to pull some of it back. This helps prevent monetary inflation, where too much money makes everything more expensive. It's like managing a party. If there are too many people, it gets crowded and chaotic. By limiting the number of guests, or dollars, the Fed keeps things under control. Central banks also try to manage what people expect about inflation. Remember built-in inflation. If people think prices will keep going up, they might act in ways that make inflation worse. The Fed often talks about their plans and goals to keep everyone calm and prevent panic from driving prices higher. Think of it like a teacher reassuring the class before a big test. By keeping everyone informed, they help maintain order and prevent unnecessary stress. Why? It matters to you. So, why should you care about what the Fed is doing? Because inflation affects everything from the price of your favorite snack to how much your family pays for gas or rent. The Fed's job is to make sure your money doesn't lose its value, so you can keep saving for the things that matter most to you. Whether you're saving up for a new toy or planning for your future, understanding how inflation works and how it's controlled can help you make smarter decisions with your money. Now that you know how inflation is managed, think about how you can protect yourself from its effects. Maybe it's saving more wisely or being aware of price changes. The more you understand inflation, the better prepared you'll be to handle it. Stick with us, because next we're going to dive into some practical tips on how you can outsmart inflation in your everyday life. Practical tips to outsmart inflation. Now that we've delved into what inflation is, its historical impact, and the role of central banks in managing it, let's focus on what it means for you. How can you shield yourself from inflation's subtle effects in your daily life? Keep in mind, this is general information and not financial advice. For personalized guidance, please consult a licensed financial advisor. Inflation can be likened to a slow leak in your savings. It can gradually erode the value of your money if you're not vigilant. But don't worry, there are ways to outsmart inflation and make sure your hard-earned cash doesn't lose its power. Save smartly. Saving money is important, but where you save can make a big difference. Have you ever thought about how inflation affects your savings? Let's make sure your money doesn't just sit there and lose value. Consider putting your savings in a high-yield savings account or investing in bonds that offer interest rates higher than the inflation rate. This way, your money grows, helping to counteract the effects of inflation. Think of it like planting a tree. If you water it with interest, it will grow taller and stronger, helping to protect your savings from shrinking over time. Invest in the stock market. What if I told you that inflation could actually work in your favor if you play your cards right? Investing in the stock market is one way to do that. Stocks have historically outpaced inflation, meaning that your investments could grow faster than prices increase. Consider learning about mutual funds or ETFs, exchange-traded funds. Investing is like owning a piece of a company. As the company grows and earns more, so does your investment, helping you keep ahead of inflation's bite. Buy durable goods. What if I told you there's a way to protect yourself from rising prices even before inflation hits? It's all about thinking ahead and buying smart. If you know prices are rising, consider purchasing durable goods, things that last a long time, like electronics, tools, or furniture, before prices go up. This way, you lock in the lower price and avoid paying more later. Imagine inflation as a game of chess. By thinking a few moves ahead, you can make sure you're always one step ahead of rising prices. Keep learning and stay informed. The best defense against inflation is knowledge. The more you understand, the better you can protect yourself. Stay informed about economic news and trends. Understanding what's happening with inflation can help you make smarter decisions about when to save, spend, or invest. There are plenty of resources out there, from financial news sites to podcasts, that can help you stay in the know. Think of staying informed as having a weather app for your finances. Just like checking the forecast helps you prepare for rain, knowing about inflation trends helps you prepare your money for whatever's coming. Conclusion: inflation might seem like an invisible force, but now you've got the tools to see it coming and outsmart it. Whether it's saving wisely, investing in the stock market, buying durable goods, or just staying informed, you have the power to protect your money. How are you going to outsmart inflation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tips on mastering your money and staying ahead of the game.